made at the Philadelphia Mint that year turned an everyday coin into a fortune. And the scary part? These rare quarters look so normal, so unassuming, that even experienced collectors have tossed them back into circulation without a second thought. But today, you're about to learn how to spot them, the exact signs, the exact conditions, and why this one simple quarter could change everything. Let me take you back. It was the spring of 2022. A retired postal worker in Kentucky was sorting through a jar of coins he'd been saving since the 80s. Just routine. He wasn't a collector. He had no idea what he was looking for. But when he posted a close-up of one quarter to an online forum just for fun, everything exploded. Collectors, graders, experts, they all said the same thing. You have a once-in-a-decade error. That coin, a 1993 P. Washington quarter with a dramatic off-center strike and visible doubling across Washington's profile and the lettering. He sold it at auction for $600. Now you might be thinking, that's a fluke. But here's where it gets really interesting. That wasn't the only one. In fact, several 1993 P quarters have surfaced over the years with jaw-dropping flaws. Heavy die cracks slicing across the eagle's wings, deep die chips that swell like blisters on the modest unum, and even ghostly God we trust. One pristine example, a 1993 P quarter graded MS 67 with a razor-sharp off-center strike and bold doubling, sold for $3,000 at a private auction. And here's the kicker. The seller originally found it in a cash drawer at a roadside diner. This is why collectors call the 1993 P the ghost quarter, because it's out there, hiding in plain sight. Let's talk details. Because if you're holding one of these in your hand, here's how to know if it's one of the valuable ones. Start with condition. Most circulated quarters from 1993 are only worth face value. But if you have one that shows no signs of wear, sharp edges, clean fields, full detail on Washington's hair, the coin. Others have die chips, which look like blobs of metal, especially in the letters or feathers. Now here's the jackpot. Off-center strikes. An off-center strike happens when the coin blank isn't seated properly in the press. This causes the design to be shifted off to one side, sometimes cutting off part of Washington's head or the date. The more dramatic the misalignment, especially if the date is still visible, the higher the value. For 1993 P quarters, off-center errors between 10% to 20% with a clear date have sold for over $500. And don't forget about full strike quality. The highest graded 1993 P quarters ever sold, MS 67 and above, fetch between $500 to $3,000, simply because they survive the years in untouched, nearly perfect condition. No fingerprints, no scratches, just brilliance. So now the real question is, where are these quarters hiding? They're in your pocket change. They're buried in jars, coin rolls, estate sale boxes. One man in Texas found his while using a vending machine. It jammed, he pulled the coin out, and the moment he held it in the light, he noticed something wasn't quite right. That quarter later brought him $200. Another woman in Florida uncovered hers during a garage cleanout. Her late husband had property taxes that year. This isn't just about coins. It's about what they represent, the hidden value, the forgotten treasure, the unexpected. People think treasure hunting is over, that the big finds are gone. But the truth is, the most valuable coins today aren't buried underground. They're sitting in plain sight, waiting for someone with just enough curiosity to look a little closer. I'm asking you, go look. Open that jar. Dump out that drawer. Inspect those quarters in your car, your wallet, your grandkids' piggy banks. Because lightning doesn't strike twice, but luck? Luck favors the prepared eye. Check for doubling. Look for cracks, chips, and off-center designs. If you find something unusual, take a clear photo. Share it with a grading service or coin forum. You might be holding something that could change your month or your entire year. And remember, many of the people who found these coins weren't experts. They weren't dealers. They were just like you. People who took the time to care, to wonder, to look. Don't let a life-changing coin slip through your fingers because it looks normal. The 1993 P. Washington quarter holds the key to a completely new lifestyle. Today we are diving deep. 200D 1791 $quarter coin. What if I told you that a simple quarter, yes, just 25 cents, could unlock a fortune worth $7,200? And maybe even more if you've got sharp eyes and a little bit of luck. Would you believe it? Or would you brush it off as just another piece of spare change? This isn't just any quarter. It's a 2001 D Washington quarter, a coin so common you've probably handled dozens without giving it a second thought. But hidden within some of these coins are rare, jaw-dropping mistakes, mint errors, and die anomalies that have transformed loose change into lottery tickets. And today, I'm going to show you how to tell the difference between a regular coin and one that could rewrite your life story. Let me take you back to a quiet spring morning in Colorado. An elderly man named James, a retired postal worker and lifelong coin enthusiast, was sorting through a box of old coins his daughter almost threw away during spring cleaning. Inside, tucked in a plastic bag with other state quarters, was a 2001 D quarter. Nothing special at first glance. Dirty, worn. He almost tossed it into this spent pile, but something told him to take one last look. The edges looked oddly thick, and as he turned the coin under the lamp, he noticed something peculiar, a doubling on the word liberty and an off-center strike so slight, most would miss it. His hands shook as he pulled out his magnifier. Within weeks, that unassuming coin, sent off to a professional grader, returned with a stunning grade and an error designation, double die obverse with off-center strike. At auction, it sold $4.7, all from a bag of forgotten change. Now, let's slow down and look at the coin that started it all, the 2001 D Washington quarter. Minted in Denver, this quarter is part of the 50-state quarters program and features New York State on the reverse, complete with the Statue of Liberty and 11 stars representing the Union's original colonies. The coin itself? Extremely common. Hundreds of millions were struck. But as always, rarity isn't about quantity. It's about the errors. And this particular coin is notorious for some of the most valuable minting flaws found in modern U.S. coinage. Here's what collectors are on the hunt for, and what you should be checking for right now in your own pocket change. First, look for doubling done on high-value error specimens. Doubling often appears on the obverse, the front, particularly on Liberty, In God We Trust, or even Washington's eye and hair details. Use a magnifier and tilt the coin gently under light. Real doubling will appear as slightly offset layers or shadows, not just a shadow caused by wear. Second, check for off-center strikes. Coins that were struck out of alignment, where the design is shifted and part of the image is cut off, are incredibly collectible. A 2001 D quarter with a 15% off-center strike and strong eye appeal once sold for $2,100 in an online auction. Third, search for die breaks, also called cuts. These are raised, blob-like flaws that appear when a die breaks and lets metal flow into the gap during striking. One well-known 2001 D quarter showed a massive cud covering part of Washington's hair and the word Liberty. It sold for over $1,800. Look for rotated dies. Hold the coin straight, with the obverse facing you. Flip it vertically. The reverse should line up perfectly. If it's rotated, say, upside down or at a strange angle, you may be holding a rotated die error. One such coin from 2001 D sold for over $1,400. And then there's condition. If your coin has one of these errors and is graded MS 65 or higher, that's mint state condition, with barely any wear. You could be looking at a jackpot. But even if it's a bit worn, these coins can still fetch hundreds. One coin with a partial double die and light circulation mark sold for $685, and another with only minor misalignment brought in $320. And now you might be wondering, how do these errors even happen? Well, the minting process, while highly controlled, isn't perfect. A die can get worn or damaged. A blank can shift. Dies can be installed in reverse. And sometimes, coins are struck with multiple errors layered on top of each other. These double or triple error coins are exceedingly rare, and if you find one, you might be the next name whispered among collectors and dealers alike. And here's the thing. These coins aren't sitting in museums or locked away in banks. They're still out there, in circulation, in your change jar, in that old roll of quarters at the bottom of your kitchen drawer. One man in Ohio found his valuable 2001 D quarter at a car wash, dropped in the return slot. Another woman in Texas discovered hers in a vending machine refund tray, a coin she almost left behind. So the question is, what's hiding in your pocket? Don't dismiss the worn, dull, everyday coins. The most valuable treasures are often disguised as the most ordinary things. That's the magic of coin collecting. The thrill of the hunt, the stories behind every face, and the quiet possibility that your next coin could be the one that changes everything. That here's what I want you to do. Go check your drawers, your old jars, your forgotten wallets. Pull out every 2001 D Washington quarter you find. Get a good magnifier, 10x or higher, and slowly inspect them. Look for the telltale signs: doubling, misalignments, off-center strikes, die breaks, rotation errors. And if you're unsure, send it in. Getting a coin professionally graded could turn a quarter into a retirement check, because sometimes it's not just about the metal or the mint. It's about the chance that history, your history, is waiting for you in the smallest, quietest corners of your life. The 2001 D Washington quarter holds the key to a completely new lifestyle. Today we are diving deep 2006 P 1864 $quarter coin. Let me ask you something straight from the heart. Have you ever held a coin in your hand that felt different? Not just in weight, not just in shine, but in presence? What if I told you that tucked away in your change jar or buried deep in your desk drawer, a 2006 P Washington quarter, yes, that plain-looking one, might not just be a piece of everyday currency, but the gateway to a windfall, possibly worth over $2,500 at auction? Sounds unreal, doesn't it? But listen closely, because this isn't just another quarter. It's one of those sleeper coins, the kind that most people spend without a second thought. But in the world of rare errors and overlooked U.S. Mint slip-ups, this particular 2006 P Washington quarter, bearing the 1864 Wisconsin reverse from the statehood quarter series, is quickly becoming a story worth telling. Let's set the scene. It was a warm summer day in Ohio. A retired postal worker named Dave, a quiet man with a lifelong habit of sorting coins while watching baseball, cracked open a dusty roll of quarters he'd picked up from the bank. Most were ordinary, nothing more than loose change waiting to be rerouted to vending machines. But then, as the sunlight hit a particular coin just right, he noticed something. The quarter, dated 2006 with a Philadelphia mint mark, had a peculiar texture on George Washington's hairline. Upon closer inspection, this wasn't just wear and tear. It was doubling, real, unmistakable die doubling. Dave sent it off for grading. Weeks later, the verdict came in: doubled die obverse, mint state 67. That coin sold for $2,560 at auction. And it all started with a coin that anyone else would have spent on a morning coffee. What makes this quarter special? Let's break it down. The 2006 P Washington quarter was part of the Wisconsin statehood series, commemorating the year 1864, when Wisconsin adopted its state seal. Millions were minted. It looks just like every other quarter in circulation. But as with most valuable finds, it's not about what you see first, it's about what you look for. There are a few specific errors and conditions that can skyrocket its value. Let's start with the double die obverse. This is when the image on the front of the coin, especially around Washington's eye, lips, or hairline, appears to have a ghost-like shadow or doubling effect. It's not from wear. It's not from damage. It's a genuine mint error, and one that collectors pay big money for, especially in high grades. Then there's the off-center strike. These are fascinating. Imagine the quarter's design not centered perfectly, but shifted slightly, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed. If your 2006 P quarter is missing more than 10% of the design due to this striking misalignment, and the date is still fully visible, you could be holding onto a coin worth $800 or more, depending on condition. But we're just getting started. There's a lesser-known but highly coveted error called the clipped planchet. This is when a small crescent-shaped portion of the coin is missing because of a flaw in the cutting process. Most people overlook these coins, thinking they've clean and shows the right deformation lines near the clip. It's a verified mint error. One such 2006 P quarter with a dramatic curved clip sold for $420 online. And if you come across a broad strike, where the coin was struck without the collar die, causing the rim to expand and lose its usual shape, you could be staring at another $300 to $500 prize. But it's not just about the errors. The condition matters too. A standard 2006 P Washington quarter in mint state 67, with no visible wear under strong eye appeal, can still fetch $120 to $250 from collectors trying to complete high grade. Now, You might be wondering, how do I check? First, don't just glance at your quarters. Examine them. Look at Washington's profile under a good light. Tilt the coin back and forth. Watch for doubling around the mouth, the eyes, the lettering, "In God We Trust." If something looks off, it's worth a closer inspection. Use a 10x magnifying loupe if you have one. It can reveal details the naked eye misses. Flip the coin over. Inspect the state side. Wisconsin, 1864, cow, will of cheese, and all. Look for any odd bumps, breaks, or missing elements. Die breaks and die chips are small raised blobs on the coin's surface, especially around the letters or numbers. These are signs of overused or damaged dies, and depending on how dramatic they are, they can add value too. But here's the golden rule. Condition plus rarity plus error equals. Most people will never bother looking, and that's why this coin still hides in plain sight. Thousands of 2006p quarters are out there, tossed in glove compartments, lying in dresser drawers, handed over as gas station change. Most will live their lives in anonymity. But a select few, the doubled dies, the broad strikes, the clipped planchets, are hiding in those very same places, waiting for someone like you to notice. One woman from Florida found her quarter while cleaning out her late father's old coin jars. She'd almost taken them to the bank to cash in. Instead, she decided to check each coin. Her patience paid off. A broad-struck 2006p quarter sold within a week of listing on eBay for $387. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby. For many, it becomes a hunt, a legacy, a chance to turn spare change into something far greater. And it starts with awareness. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a moment. That quarter in your hand could be more than just 25 cents. It could be a story, a discovery, a ticket to something life-changing. Because the veteran Jim was sorting through his loose change one quiet Sunday afternoon, a habit he picked up during his deployment years. Nothing fancy, just a way to pass time, he said. But one coin made him stop cold. It was just a 2019p quarter, the kind honoring the Lowell National Historical Park in Massachusetts. Nothing screamed valuable. The coin was slightly shiny, a little worn. But then he noticed something, a strange doubling on the lettering around the rim. The building details on the reverse looked thicker, almost shat. $4.11 for 100. You heard that right. A common-looking quarter from your everyday pocket change became worth more than an old used car. And that's not a one-time miracle. Another collector, browsing through a $25 box of quarter rolls from their bank, something any one of us can do, stumbled upon a 2019p quarter with a major die break error. The metal looked cracked on Washington's forehead, almost like a lightning bolt had struck art, a flaw so dramatic that it turned an ordinary 25-cent piece into a collector's dream. That one? It brought in $7,200 at a private auction. So what exactly makes some of these 2019p quarters worth a fortune, while others are only good for a gumball? Let's start with the basics. In 2009, Mint released quarters as part of the America the Beautiful series. The Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the small P mark, struck millions of coins that year. But quantity doesn't action. And that's where things get interesting. Some of these quarters exhibit double die errors, a rare mistake during the minting process where the coin's design is stamped more than once, but slightly off position. This causes a noticeable doubling effect. You'll see it most often on the Lowell design around the windows, the spinning wheel spokes, or the text Lowell. If you spot any letters or building details that seem thicker, shadowed, or split, don't dismiss it. That might be a double die, and one sold in 2022 for $4,600, uncirculated. Next, watch out for die breaks. These happen when a chunk of the die breaks off during minting, causing a blob of extra metal to appear on the coin, usually near the rim or between letters. Some of the most dramatic examples appear like cracks across George Washington's head or chin. A 2019p with a bold die break fetched $3,900, and it wasn't even in mint condition. Another valuable variation? Off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank isn't properly aligned during the strike. A slight misalignment, maybe 5%, won't bring much. But coins that are 15 to 30% off-center can go for hundreds. And if the date and mint mark are still visible, jackpot. Also, keep an eye out for clipped planchets, coins where a chunk is missing, as if someone took a bite out of the edge. These are rare and modest, but still pop up, and one 2019 P quarter